Hello, everybody, and let's get this going. Welcome to Intelligent Speech 2023. After 14 months, a Kickstarter campaign, a web design process, and more personal disasters than any of us care to think about, we made it. Um, I'd like to flip the usual order of things and start today by thanking everyone who helped make this possible. First of all our Kickstarter supporters, you guys are amazing. Your generosity really put this event where it needed to be. And we're just going to take a moment. We sold the right to have these hats and T-shirts to some of our higher level donors. So there we go. All right. And we will be wearing these throughout the course of the day, although depending on where I sit in relation to the camera, you might or may not be able to see it. So anyway. Next, I'd like to thank Fardeen Chowdhury of Cool Hat Web Design for a second, and Duncan, who will be participating throughout the day. Fardeen Chowdhury of Cool Hat Web Design, for a second year in a row, he came through clutch for us with a website that is not just functional, but a pleasure to use and view. Last year was an emergency job. I think this year's website shows what he can do given time and resources, and it really has been the heart of this operation this year. On a not unrelated note, I'd also like to thank Sarah of Mad Sahara Fine Art and Design. It was her deft touch that turned our vague notion that we like the color orange into a genuine unified color theme for the website, as well as some really spiffy logos, which Bree is wearing one of them. So there we go. I've known, as I said last year, I've known Fardeen and Sarah for many years as friends. It was wonderful to work with them in a professional capacity, and I would absolutely recommend their services to any of you who have any web design or graphic design or fine art needs. I can't in good conscience start this conference without also thanking our staff this year. Sarah T., Roberto, David, Sam, Eric, Rick, and Elspeth are the ones who will be keeping things running today. They are the admins in the upcoming sessions, and without their help, these conferences just couldn't happen. In particular, I'd like to thank Rick this year for doing some finishing work on the website when we discovered we needed to resize like 50 pictures all at once, and also that I had screwed up some fonts in the schedule. I'd also like to thank Sarah for helping me with the monotonous details required to get the Zoom event set up. She did most of the work on the Zoom end, and that was great. Elspeth and Roberto, you two are just my gold star students. You sign up first for everything and are always ready to help. So thanks, guys. I'd, of course, as always, like to thank Royfield Brown, our founder emeritus, who lets us keep doing this even when things have gotten a little murky. Last but certainly not least, my co-conspirators, Bree and Luke, make this possible. Each of us has had real challenges this year, and we've helped each other through it. Given that my house flooded last August, I was not entirely mentally present this year, and you two really stepped up to help while I was fighting with the insurance companies and contractors and banks, and tried to find actual services for my daughter, all while living in a one-room hotel and constantly trying not to be turned out on the street. So thank you both very much. All of which is to really say, I know a thing or two about contingency plans. Now, this is one of those things. Everyone thinks they know about planning because we all do it to some extent. And you can tell this because there's a million quotes about it. Life is what happens while you're making plans. That one's basically anonymous. Plans don't survive first contact with the enemy. That was Mulk. He could have taken his own advice. Humans plan and God laugh. That's a Yiddish proverb. And then there's plans are nothing, planning is everything by Eisenhower. And I don't know who did this last one. A minute of planning can save you hours of doing. Before this turns into a daily aspirations calendar, let me quickly give you my favorite plan-related quote, which is from the Death Cab for Cutie song, What Sarah Said. It came to me then that every plan is a tiny prayer to Father Time. This past year, this is the one that spoke most to me. As everything falls apart, we stand up, look around, and figure out what to do next. That is the most basic form of contingency. I think there's something special and uniquely human about planning. I would think this. I am an urban planner by profession, but hear me out. Planning, at least the way we do it, brings together all the things that sets us out as rather unique in the natural world. We gather and store data, we abstractly conceptualize the situation, how we can change it. If we are doing planning well, we are cognizant of ourselves within that situation and our own identity and relative reality, and how that may affect our perceptions. Then we conceptualize the resources we have at hand and creatively combine them to shape our outcomes. Those resources must in every case involve our relationships with other people, whether it is the way we use our friends and family connections to do something as complex as plan an international podcasting conference, or something as seemingly simple as doing a woodworking project using the unbelievably complex set of tools created by the collective wisdom of 1,000 generations of crafters and makers. And every time we plan, we know we can fail. My chisel could be dull. I might not have gotten the pan hot enough before adding the oil. There's a parade today, and there's too much traffic to go to the beach. Your house could flood. One of your scouting planes may have taken off 20 minutes later than the rest, creating an aircraft carrier-sized hole in your battle awareness. You could simply die before you have time to ensure that your child has what she needs to live a safe and happy life. Everything we do is contingent. We could fail, and it's even possible that our plans will actually make things worse. And yet we keep making plans, not because it's some heroic or wonderful thing, although maybe it is. I think we keep doing it because we have to. We are hardwired to conceptualize the future and assume our place in it and try and shape events to deliver a better outcome. Be that outcome world peace, success in a conflict, or just going to the kitchen to secure cheese, crackers, maybe a little herring if there's any left. As for today, we have a glorious plan. 3 keynotes. Rebecca of Tudor's Dynasty, Sebastian of Our Fake History, and Daniele of History on Fire. All 3 are set with some great presentations, and they are raring to go. We also have some amazing roundtable discussions. We have panels to discuss the history of Africa and ancient Persia. We have a panel about what women did historically when their significant others went to that great man cave in the sky. We have yet another Rexy panel this year, which I have to assume some historical things will be tied down and viciously rated by our guests. I'm going to be moderating a panel about what it's like to end a podcast, with a panel I'm absolutely thrilled to have, including not only friends and colleagues, but mentors and guiding stars. And last but certainly not least, we're going to have a madcap lightning round where a number of us will present who we think is history's greatest nudnik, people who pulled a Leroy Jenkins so severe that it affects plans throughout history. But today is more than roundtables and keynotes. We have 24 individual sessions today from some of the best independent podcast hosts in the business. From Greta of the History of American Food, who's going to be talking about what margarine has to do with war, to Charles Kimball of the History of Southeast Asia, who's going to be talking about various tricks of Thai diplomacy. Even now and then, every now and then I wonder if we're going to run out of steam on this. Like, I might get bored and think there's nothing really new to learn in these conferences. I'm going to run out of new and exciting guests. But every year someone shows up with a presentation like Roberto of Czar Power, who's presenting a session that he's just calling Cannibal Island, and he won't tell me anything else. Or there's the way that the staff have stepped up this year to lighten my load. And that's the flip side of the uncertainty of planning. It would be boring if things came off without a hitch every single time. And sometimes the surprises we find along the way are good, like the way people step up and get your back. And that helps us keep going and make life worth living. Which brings us to the topic of the next intelligence speech, our plans for that. We don't have a date or a topic yet, but I just wanted to let you all in on our plans. At the end of last year, at last intelligence speech, we decided we wanted to move the conference date from the middle of early summer to the middle of winter, because we figured people would be more likely to want to spend time inside. But we didn't have the resources to do it all in one jump. So we waited 15 months and then did this conference. And we're going to wait 15 months for the next one. I'm telling you this right now as like part of the introduction, because technically there's not going to be a conference in 2024 because it's a 15-month gap. But so we're not taking a hiatus or anything. It's a planned 15-month gap. Okay, so one last thing on a programming note. Do we have Rob?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So that paragraph is done. In the last 5 minutes, Bree, Luke, do you have anything to add?
No, just to say thank you to you.
Thank you for being here, everybody. This is always a wonderful day. There is always so many wonderful presentations to hear, and it's so cool to see what happens when we all come together as a community, supporting one another, sharing ideas, and just being the best of the podcast world, really.
All right. With that, thanks everyone for being here, and let's get on to our first keynote, which is Rebecca.